Here we go. All right. What's up, Lexi, Holy, Fobbe, Duffy? Thanks for the sub, Duffy, by the way. Much appreciated. All right, so welcome to this week's FC chat. So today we actually have I at least consider it a very special episode. We're not gonna have support FCs on too often, because I think for most of the time I wouldn't even know who is an support FC in other groups, right? So today we have actually 3 support FCs from 3 different groups on, and hopefully get kind of an idea how things work in all 3 of these groups. I mean, I kind of know how it works for Init, obviously.
You subscribe to Pando? That's
Thanks, Holy
so
Walrus.
hot.
So what is a support FC, first of all, right? Which is also what I want to highlight here, maybe to some degree, so people maybe have an idea that being the front guy, like being on comms, being the main FC all the time, that might not even be what you want to do in EVE, right? And so these guys or girls, they actually are the background workforce behind most ops. At least in my case, I know I always rely on a lot of people. And so let me introduce you to the guests today. And so let me start with Ari, right? Obviously I know Ari the best. As you can see, she's an Init too. And so Ari is my right hand assistant, I would say, in most bigger ops, right? I'm not saying in every little roam or whatever, but I think Ari has a hand in even in those roams to a degree, just bringing a dicta or like whatever, and doing her own kind of thing without me being required to tell a lot. And I think most guys that watch my streams every now and then, you might just recognize her voice too, and so you know her from there already. So basically, I mean, Ari, you might even be fairly well known for the whole rage thing. So basically, whenever we do big stuff, Ari's involved, and so when Ari wants to burn something to the ground, we burn something to the ground, right? So yeah, welcome, and thanks to all 3 for, first of all, for doing this. It's probably not you're not seeking out attention, which also comes from the role here, basically, right? So thanks for being here today, Ari.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here, even if I am nervous. But
yeah, that's all good. I mean, we're all friends here. It's basically just Init watching at the moment. So my second guest would be Tiana, which I actually got to know just recently. For those who watched the other FC chat episodes, I had Elo Knight on, and she is, as far as I can tell, in the same role as Ari would be supporting my fleets. She would support Elo's fleets, and maybe someone in chat has a Revenant, and you might know her from there, because she is like known for having her hands on a lot of Revenant BPCs, I think. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but you can correct me. You're probably the #1 Revenant BPC dealer in the game.
I mean, I'm a primary source, yes, and in like 95% of the case, if you see a Revenant blueprint, it came through my hands first, even if you buy it from some other guy who just want to, have a better price with you.
So also welcome, and thanks for doing this. And then we have someone on who I don't know. I wouldn't say at all. I see him around every now and then. So like you have sometimes you have these names
You subscribe to Pando?
in hostile fleets
That's
that you recognize,
so
that
hot.
show up over and over again, or like more often, more frequently, and you kind of have an idea they're involved probably in some way, but never spoken unless until today to him. And it's ieatpaperbag from Test. And the reason why, or the way I got you on was actually I simply asked Sedo last week who's the number one support FC in test, because I kind of felt like maybe having another point of view for this on, and he basically said, all right, I've got a guy, right? So also thanks for showing up today. ieatpaperbag, and welcome.
Thank you. I really like your show. I'm really excited to be on it today.
All right, great. So to just get the ball going, because we don't know each other too well, so what are you actually doing most of the time in tests? Like what would you say is your favorite activity support wise, and maybe what's what's one of the greater accomplishments or the more memorable things that you did in that role so far? It was Paperback.
I would say for me, the, the I guess the thing I'm most proud of is probably the first time that we did a Goku fleet after I had scanned one of the drifter wormholes. Before that, I had been on a number of these Goku fleets, and we'd gone into these drifter holes, which I didn't realize that's what it was. I kept on wondering, why do we land, off of the hole, and we always got a boost to it. So I was asking Seto, why do we do that? And he was telling me it was a drifter hole. So I decided to figure out what they were. And so I decided after that to just scan the whole thing. And I did this a number of times. And then finally I found one that had good connections. And I told Seto about it. And then before I knew it, there were like 200 dudes in the hole going after targets. And for me to see, that translation from doing that prep work to going after targets and getting some kills was for me something I was really excited about. And because it was the first time it ever happened, I felt really proud about that, I guess.
So wait, so when you probed or mapped the entire wormhole or whatever, did you do the whole thing on your own, and did it have already 60 connections, or was it like when it still had 20?
It still had 20. I still do it today when it has 65
All
connections,
alone?
but
All on your
yeah.
own? Holy shit.
Well, sorry, that's a little misleading. You might have seen it on Reddit, but Tess has started kind of a small wormhole or I guess rebooted, let's say. And so now they've got a dude in each of them. But yeah, I'm fairly used to scanning a particular one down on a pretty daily basis.
Yeah, so like I'm very familiar with like how it works. For those who don't know like how it actually works, the drifter wormholes, it's tricky because it's not like a normal wormhole where you just warp on zero, right? So probing all the wormholes is one part, but then mapping them all is a like whole different ball game, especially when you have like 60 plus connections. Yes, you can ignore a good few, right? High sec, EOL, whatever you're looking for. Maybe you're looking not for low sec at all. But it's a ton of work, and I think one person, 60 connections, if you do it all with one character, that's around the 1.5 2 hour mark, right? So before an op, you would go and invest like a shit ton of time just for that op to have a bigger chance of success, right?
Yeah, it's easily 2 hours of work. And then even after you finish scanning everything, like another 8 have popped up. And then you're like, well, I need to check these out. And then after you scan those 8, there's another 2. And so
I know too. I actually probe those myself a lot of times, but I have a team behind me. I think probably a couple of them might be in chat that help me map at least, right? So I probe it and then they just map it for me quickly. And I think that the tricky part also with that is like, so when you first did that, right? So that's the memorable moment. When you first mapped an entire wormhole, did you actually get lucky and the wormhole was used that day and you got something and it was a success? Or did you map it and nothing happened the first time and it took like, I don't know, 2 or 3 times before it even was used?
oh yeah, I scanned it probably like maybe 3 or 4 times, and then maybe the 5th or 6th time, I got connections that said I was interested in, and we put a Goku fleet there. So the first 4 or 5 times were about.
Yeah, but because I was about to say that it's one thing to map it, but to keep mapping it, even though it didn't work out 3 or 4 times, that's a different thing, right? There's a mindset required for that you're willing to, do it over and over again, basically, to make it work. Right?
Yeah, it definitely does. At the time, I knew Seto had been promoted to Sky Marshal, and he just didn't really have time to do this on his own, because he was preparing for actual strat ops. So I kind of felt like if I could just do some of the work and take it off his plate, could help create some more Goku fleets.
Yeah, and I know Ari got. I mean, obviously, Ari, you've got a lot of wormhole experience, and Ari helped me before also with those, right? Those wormholes. And I would guess. So the question was, what's the most memorable thing? I would guess I know which one is the one for Ari, but I'm gonna ask anyway, Ari. So what's your most memorable thing?
Well, yeah, as you guessed, it was my work on the Rage Op. I was one of the members of the logistics team, and I did a lot of the seeding of the initial assets, and then a lot of the like helping manage hull control during the actual op itself. So that was definitely one of the most exciting and stressful times in Eve for me, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I would even say, I would like honestly say, I think without you we wouldn't have been able to do it, because I had no idea how much work it's exactly gonna be. Riven had kind of an idea, and like he was willing to go all the way, but I think it would have taken like 3 years to make it happen. Just the two of us. And so yeah, like, and for those who might not even know, but I think before Rage we didn't know each other. I wouldn't say at
No.
all. We kinda like, I kinda knew you were around or whatever from Riv. I'm not even sure, to be honest. I
Yeah,
think the
Riven
first time we
recruited
ever
me,
talked.
and most of the logistics team, and you and I didn't have much contact, I think, beforehand. I think I maybe had messaged you once or twice just to kind of introduce myself. I had put an alt in Inits just so I could go on a couple of your fleets and just see what your FCing was like before the op.
Yeah, I think that's what I remember. You saying, hey, like, I don't even remember what it was. But then the fact that you were also part of a wormhole group in some way, there was some, I don't know. Like, I knew you had an alt in it, which was weird, right? So I was like, more memorable then, I guess. But yeah, we didn't even know each other back then, and that's not too long ago. It's, I mean, almost a year now, but yeah, it's not that long. And so for you was the Rage Op, obviously, right? And then Tiana, what do you think was your most memorable thing you did, like supportive wise? Or what's your favorite thing to do supportive wise too, right? It's not necessarily that there's that one big thing. Maybe it's just the influence you have over time with a support, like with a special role you fill.
I mean, sometimes, I think that I'm just a person whose voice Ela tolerates most, and that's other time I really see that I, can be proud of some work that it's been a long road with Origin at least, and I started to help my like favorite FCs before Origin when I was in other land. When I realized that like I want to do some extra work, that I want to do something, that's gonna be memorable and appreciated, is when I started to just like beat in the cricket silence
I'll tell
when
you anything
FC asks
for the
for
right amount
like
of
a
bits.
signer to be
Don't
somewhere,
reaction to this.
or can someone, bring a save ride somewhere? And I just said like, fuck it, I'll do it. I don't remember when it started. I think it was in Waffles when I really tried to start to be useful. Then of course, this evolved in participating in Alliance tournament with Waffles. That's another extra step that I made, and more and more and more after with different different corps, different alliances. If you wanna ask like how we met with Ela, because you guys just remembered how you guys met with. So when we met with Ela, he killed me with a keepstar. He just came back from his AFK from the game, and the citadels were kind of new to him. And I was in Triumvirate at that point, and I was just invited, like a guest pilot to one of his, and he warped us to a Keepstar, and Keepstar killed us. It was horrible, but I still wanted to
Alright,
fight.
so but you were in the same fleet as him.
Yes, I was in his fleet, yeah.
So you were right away impressed with his skills. That's what I read out of this.
I mean, it was funny, like the first fleet, and like I shipped, of course, immediately, and then we keep fighting. I think it was Horde. I think it was when Origin started to be deployed in FDZ, and they were fighting Horde at that point. And we were fighting them after that, and I was a new ship and a new sim, and at some point, I was very shy to speak up, but I really tried to do what I usually do, is my logistics job, and that's usually say reps are not holding, or we should do this, we should do that, about logic. And Ela was a bit upset because nobody like say anything that we're losing, and he said like, why is the only person who speaks up is this girl that I barely can hear,
And then you started speaking up louder.
Yes, I did.
And now, like rumors say, Elo always listens to Tiana.
Well, at least he does say so. I mean, it's complicated. I do a lot of space jobs in Origin. I do logistics as, logistic pilot, not jump
You're
freight.
also the Alliance holder for Black Legion, right?
What do you mean?
Yeah, isn't your Char holding the Alliance? Or
Yes, at this moment, I am the CEO of Black Legion,
which is kind of, he must trust you. I mean, everyone in that alliance must trust you to a degree, I guess.
Well,
Unless you stole it.
no, I didn't. I mean, when Ela goes to some events like EVE Toronto, EVE Vegas last year, he, he sometimes says like, Tiana is in charge of Origin in my absence, something like this. So what I do is I do logistics, I do recon in terms of getting in lots of different ways, including spies.
I know.
And I do I do my job as a corp director, which is like a big chunk of another space jobs is like HR, Diplo, and big plans. And
Yeah, and when you said the spy thing, and when I said I know, and I'm thinking of the whole LSH situation. Like, I think you especially work also with like Russian groups, right? Because the Russian community, obviously, like everyone knows everyone to a degree, and we've gotten dread bombed by LSH before in Fountain, and you were on grid, like one Black Legion character, and I remember it's like the other day. I'm like, yeah, that's true. That was actually Tiana. And yeah, so yeah, I mean, that's always great to have someone who's able to, work together with other groups. I mean, we have similar things, obviously. We have friends in the game and stuff like this. And then I would say Ari has connections to other groups too. It's like very similar, I think. That, something is coming up, some big timer. We get intel from that area, or but then that intel is also gonna be on point, right? That's what I think makes a good support FC. Don't tell us about that one Athanor that's going into armor like 5 regions away. You know what I mean? If like if, for example, if Ari tells me, hey, there's gonna be this epic fights in wherever it is, we have to go there. We're gonna go there because I kind of trust her judgment there, and I think it's probably a similar role to you, right? If you tell Elo or another FC support usually that hey, let's go there. That's gonna be great. Most likely they're gonna go there, right? Because they trust their judgment.
Do sometimes, but mostly what he needs from me is on field. Because so basically what he wants from me is eyes everywhere, reporting the current situation, enemy stations, enemy fleets move, like who's bridging where, this kind of stuff. So up to date intel.
That reminds me of something. When we did the raid job, you remember? You guys were formed up big. Because do you remember? I think you were actually trapped with your Titan in Cloud Ring at the time. Is that true? You were, I think so.
We did have our Titans, like Origin Titans,
In
flown
77.
off in some system, yeah, for a while, for a few days, because you guys were, keep an eye on them. So yeah, my Titan was there as well.
Yeah, and so like when we formed big, we call it the mother of all CTAs. I remember you guys were all sitting on Titan in, I'm not sure if it was Munins actually. Might have been Loki's at the time. Did you fly Loki's ever? I'm not sure. But you guys were all formed big, and you were ready to go because you didn't know what was going on, and you thought probably it was something about the Titans or something. But I remember you guys being formed huge, and then we just traveled like one jump next to you guys, and we just traveled by to our wormhole towards Rage. And you were probably involved in that one too, right? Like you were all formed big. You knew about us forming big and all that stuff, right?
That's so hot.
We were aware about the Rage coming. I don't think that Ela had any plans to
You were
participate
aware
in
at the
that.
time? Wait a second. You were aware that we planned on doing the Rage thing?
I don't really remember, timeline.
Yeah.
I mean, we were aware of the final timer, of course.
Yeah, I mean,
Not of the prep work. I don't really remember at what point our Titans were trapped, So I think what happened is like, okay, they're busy with something else. Let's sneak out.
yeah, I
think it
remember
was
that.
something
I
like that.
remember thinking, so you guys set up like some sneaky shit in Fountain, and then you moved your Titans
Oh,
back. And you know the whole story though? Like, let me tell that story. So I'm getting reports about BL Titans moving into Cloud Ring. So you just jumped into Cloud Ring, upper Cloud Ring, which is quite far from Fountain still, right? So you still have like at least one Titan jump and a couple gates in front of you. And maybe Erica's even in chat. But I instantly told Erica, hey, get a Cyanodictor ready, move towards them, right? And he's on the way. The second you guys jumped out to the next Cyno to then do like 3 gate jumps, my internet was gone. And I couldn't just log in, right? And the second my internet was back, you guys just dropped into deep into Fountain, and the Titans were saved up. I was so mad, and the timing was so, I don't want to say it, but I mean, I got paranoid. I'm not even kidding, right? I got paranoid. I'm like, that can't be true, right? My internet's never gone, and then it's exactly the perfect time frame, and it was just gone. And so from that op, you killed like I think 10 rockets or so. That was the lost guys, actually good friends of mine. And we simply like it was such a bad time, so we couldn't form anything really. We had 50 Stukas, I believe, and you had like I don't even know 200 units and a Stuka fleet on top of it. So basically, we couldn't do much about it. Felt like bait too, right? And then you sneaked out afterwards.
The boldest part was when we breached out of your staging system using our hyperrank.
I know. And right after, like, one of your racks even got tackled, right? I'm not sure if that was Erica that I sent after you guys, but one of your racks got tackled for a brief moment. I'm not sure how he got free, because I wasn't locked in at the time. But
It wasn't a hick. I think it was Saber
addicted.
Bubble.
Yeah, exactly. That's what Elo said.
And we just smart bombed them. That's it.
Yeah. So, yeah, you guys got in and out alive. And afterwards, I actually pinged like all Dicta, like everyone who has a Dicta Al to, you know, just camp that system where you guys were locked off afterwards.
Yeah,
And
drive-by hyperrex is one of our favorite things.
yeah, I mean, Ari also got a hyper rack, which I like to get stuck in places. So there's another similarity. I'm not sure. Paperbag, do you also have a hyper rack? That would just fit too well.
I do have a rag, and it is not hyper yet, but Seto is
Not yet,
trying to
huh?
convince me.
See,
It's pretty fun.
it's kind of funny how similar that whole like you guys are, right? In the role, like if you're supportive, you have a hyper rag suddenly, right? If you want or not, paperback, you're gonna have a hyper rag.
I'll tell you even more. Ela helped me to inject this, and he gave me the whole. I fitted, but he gave me the whole. I got the fit and the sentences, but you know, he just gave me the rag because you
What
know
a
it
nice guy.
serves Alliance. No, it's not being nice guy. It's because
I
I'm
know.
his like personal slave now.
I know. Well, luckily Ari is rich as shit. She got that wormhole money, so I never had to sponsor anyone's time. And everyone knows, like at the time at least, I was always space poor, so I couldn't even think about doing that.
You should think about it.
I should
I
think
think
about
my
what.
second one's gonna be free, right?
Yeah.
If I lose the first one.
And
Yeah,
now
I mean,
we're like, we should move your rag. No, your rag, not your rag.
but that's one of
Yeah,
the
that's
perks being a support FC. If you do a lot of shit, for example, Ari does a lot of stuff with her rag and stuff. We used it a couple times. Deep in test space, for example, in Esoteria. If you get caught there, it's dead. But like I think if Ari would lose that thing, we would replace it right away from Alliance, right? Because we had so much use out of it. It wouldn't be a problem to replace that thing, right? Be it like from the Alliance SRP because it's a strat op, or is it just us saying, hey, Ari lost her rag, we've used it a couple times. Guys would just throw some ISK together and we would have like probably 2 rags. I mean, nowadays it's not that big of an issue anymore. But that's one of the perks being a support FC. If you reach a level that people in the alliance at least know you, right? Or like I'm not sure how many people in alliance do actually understand how important it is to have FCs like you guys around. But like, what do you think? Like, do most people understand, or most people don't understand anything?
Honestly, I'm not sure because I think a lot of the stuff that we do, the average line member is not going to know about. You know, just being completely. But like Seto, for example, like he's really good about like I should say spotlighting the people that help make the op happen. You know, he'll say after a Goku, like, a bunch of guys scan these holes down, or even before we deployed our SIG to cache, like he mentioned me and another pilot who had hacked all the structures to figure out what the timers were. So I think if FC didn't speak up, I don't think anyone would really know about what a support FC is and how important they are. Um, unless the FC, kind of like spoke up and said, these are ways that you can help out, and this is what these guys are doing.
Yeah, I've definitely seen in our Stuka fleets, like Pando's good about giving credit to the wormhole crew as well. So I think those people definitely get credit, but I think some of the other fleets probably there's definitely, I think, a lot going on, and maybe people know a few of the support FCs, but I think they don't know the full like breadth of the assistance a lot of FCs get to put together some of these larger ops.
How is it in Black Legion, Tiana? Is it kind of the
Well,
same?
I can't complain because BL is not so large group at this moment, and being a corp director as well. Like I was appointed as a corp director quite soon after I joined. I would say it was like maybe 1 month after I joined. So they kind of know me already. So I can't complain that I'm like not,
Well,
appreciate or something. No, they know my job. They know what I'm doing pretty well, at least in Origin.
well, I think everyone wants to be appreciated, right? But I think you guys probably are not seeking the spotlight anyway.
That's
You,
true.
you guys are all like more in the background, which is why I'm surprised that all three of you instantly said, "Yeah, why not? Let's have a chat, stuff like this," right? And I actually expected at least one of you guys to say like, "Ah, it's not my thing. Like, I don't really talk about what I'm doing," right? But yeah, it's like being appreciated is one thing, right? Obviously, I think people appreciate it as soon as they know what's going on. But I think a lot of people don't know, right? That's why I'm doing this episode actually, right? Because I think that's an aspect that goes by a lot of people. They don't understand that you don't have to be the FC. You can just, there's a lot you can do as a supportive in a supportive role, which is has its advantages for sure, right? You don't have the or like, let me ask you guys, like, why would you pick the supportive role um, over like an FC role? Because I would say probably all three of you have enough experience in the game that you can just FC yourself, right? You don't have to, support an Elo or like me or Sedo or whatever. Like, you could just FC yourself too. Like, why would you guys think do you pick this role, right?
Well, I don't think it's just that. I think when you're on a fleet, often it's sometimes really visible about or how taxed the FC is. I know for Seto, for example, like when he was running a bunch of clients on his laptop, like they would constantly like freeze up or disconnect. And then there's times, when we're like on a Goku fleet or anything, and the fleet is like crashing into like a rock or something, and that's because the FC is like looking at other characters and stuff like that, and there's got so much going on, and there's a lot of opportunity to help them out and take some of that attention for them.
What about you, Ari? Why do you think you don't FC but you support more?
So when I was in Wormhole Space, I did do a bit of FCing, particularly in like Pause Party when I was there, and it was kind of small stuff. I did some fleets similar to the Stuka fleets, little boosh fleets with confessors and deacons, but much smaller numbers, usually like 20, 30, and I FC'd some other stuff as well. And I did enjoy it, but I don't know. I feel like for me, I'm kind of a nervous person, which I'm sure people have picked up on, but also I definitely get like very in my head, and I try to overanalyze things. And for me, I can get kind of I get unsure of how to proceed, I guess. So I think I prefer a lot more to instead help other FCs, because they can make those decisions in the moment when they need to. And honestly, I just enjoy it more. Like helping a fleet run smoothly is really satisfying. Being able to take, as Paperbag was saying, take some of the load off the FCs, helping with scouting, or noting things like, oh, hey, we need to turn off command boosts, or just like the small things that help make sure that the fleet runs properly.
You know what? I would still think I consider myself too a support FC, like in some ops, right? If Bliss or Shines run an op, I go into the support role, right? I do like Sino stuff and stuff like this. I think that like every FC should have that in them somewhere to be able to support. Because otherwise, first of all, you wouldn't appreciate it if someone wants to help you, right? And then second of all, like, you know, it's just a team thing. Like especially in bigger groups, you need a team. You can't just FC with one guy. Like it used to be a thing, right? And I think Blizz is a good example of someone who could FC on his own, but it's not going to be 100% efficient. It's going to be on 80%, which is still good. But I mean, if someone comes in and helps bring it to 100, you can do some awesome shit with it, right? And then Tiana, what do you think? Why would you think you prefer to be in a supportive role? Hey, thanks for the host, Torvald.
Naturally evolved
Thanks a lot, dude.
from me preferring the logistics role. I mean, you can call targets from logic, but it's kind of harder to do. So naturally, I would be doing, I would be like in a separate comms with Logi as well, and giving them advice how we should do things during the fleet. And the next step of this is being in triage. So, you know, I have a lot of my hands already. So being logistics pilot first, this is how my gameplay was evolving all the time. Like Aneris was my first Tech 2 ship that I learned in this game. I was flying in the Gorgon Empire at that point. It was like my first real PvP alliance that I enjoyed very much.
I remember those guys.
Yeah, I kind of picked the logistics role first as a, you know, logic, and like I do understand that giving reps is what I do better than dealing damage. That's, you know, just the way it is. And it is especially I realized it when we were training for alliance tournament with Waffles, because we tried to do like a rotation so people could try the roles in this group of 10 people, right? Tackle, DPS, logi, screening or something, you know, AT team.
Oh, interesting. And then
Yeah.
you just, you know, thought like, alright, that's
Tried.
your thing, and you just picked logistics first, and then it just doesn't fit to be the FC anyway.
I was appointed as logistics first, but they wanted some other people in our team to try this role in case if I won't be available for any reason, you know, on the day of. And I was sitting in a DPS ship instead, and I realized I suck at DPS. You know, that's just it's not it's not that I wouldn't be able to, you know, press one in like a big fleet like Munions or something, but like in AT setting, I suck at DPS. I don't know how to do maximum of what my ship can provide, but I do know what I can do in a logic. So it was natural by like FC is in charge of DPS boats, so to say. He's calling targets or she's calling targets. I had an experience with flying a female FC. It was Soraya and Triumvirate. She's very talented. I respect her very much. So like she would be calling targets and I would be taking care of Logi. It was just, you know, natural to me. And then after I started to take some extra roles like Intel, like I said, Sinus, Eyes, then I would be sitting in like command discourse, command comms with some other alliances when we coordinate things. I realized that I, you know, feel just right. I feel like this is my place to be, you know.
So that also means, I mean, I know we've played Overwatch before, so that also means you probably play supportive roles in other games too. We talked about it before, and for those who play Overwatch probably recognize Ari also has Mercy, which is a like straight up as support as any character can be in Overwatch, right? So you both are kind of Mercy mains, which is kind of funny, right? So it's a general,
Yeah.
like I would say, it's in your personality, right? That you guys prefer the supportive role. It's not like you couldn't do the FC role, but it's just more
Also,
your
I
thing.
would say from the backstage, you have a bit better view of what's going on.
That is true. Yeah, I know that for sure, because I've been in that position a lot of times too, right? When I support like a Bliss or Shines or whoever, then or a Lexi who's in chat, then I can it's way easier to be on point with like to see what's going on exactly, because you're not thinking about every little thing like what's primary, what's secondary, where am I positioned and all that stuff. Like I might just have eyes in another staging or whatever, and I can read the situation a little bit better then, right? So I totally
Yeah.
get what you mean there, yeah.
And I would say, like, at least about my work with Ela as FC, as like DPS FC, we often feel like it's, you know, playing the piano using for iron. It's just perfect sync. He takes care of his part, I take care of my part. In some doctrines, it's especially, you know, it's visible. You can see that. Good example in my mind is we used retribution doctrine quite a lot when we were fighting Horde. And I believe they were fighting us with Harpies at some point, and retributions, you know, they didn't perform so good against them. The problem is when you turn fleet, they slowed down, and that was the moment when we were get killed. And it was funny that we were, you know, flying around our enemies, trying to, you know, get a better transversal. And Ela would send me, Tiana, I need to turn. Tiana, I need to turn. And I'm like, don't turn, don't turn, not right now.
Yeah. That's a perfect example. And yeah, someone's asking, Paperbag, also, are you also a Mercy main?
I don't play Overwatch, but I mentioned earlier that I used to play World of Warcraft, and I've always played a healer in the game.
Yeah, so it's just like it's obvious that you guys just prefer the supportive role. And then also, so like one of the questions I actually wrote down was like, do you consider this like, is this your end game, right? Or do you want to like one day like be an FC? And I think I probably can answer that for all three of you, that you probably are happy in that role. You don't want to FC any big fleets, right?
I agree. At least for me.
Absolutely.
I think maybe like if forced to, like if the situation is there and you have to step in and take something over, I think you probably would, right? Take one for the team, but you wouldn't prefer, you wouldn't
I
seek
would
that out.
say for Origin, at least, someone you can call a support FC is actually Dumbani. It's one of our other directors. Why would you say it's a support FC and like with a stress on the FC part? Because Ela sometimes, or like even, you know, quite often, appoints him as a secondary anchor. So basically, he takes over if Elo dies, right? Or if he is webbed and we need to anchor on someone else. And they would be, you know, passing this role back and forth from, you know, each other.
Yeah.
And I'm more like, I don't know, logic commander or assistant, like you say. I don't really call myself even as FC at any, you know, in any way.
Well, if you may, like, if you call some shots, I think Logi FCs sometimes tend to do that. We also have Logi FCs, like, shout out to Reaver, who is also like an awesome Logi anchor and FC. I would say, I would call it an FC, because a lot of times the Logi FC makes the decision if we stay on grid or not, right? Especially like in Stuka-Fleet, it's not that critical, but for example, you feel something like low keys and you start bleeding, like you don't want to trade in low keys, right? In Munins is one thing, in low keys that's an absolute, and you have to be very careful or it's getting expensive very quickly. So if the Logi FC then speaks up and says, "Oh shit, we're bleeding quickly," that's basically him say or her saying, "Wop out," right? So get the fuck out, and that's basically you have to trust on that judgment right there. So, you know, I would call it an FC role in like in some way. And you're commanding your logis too, probably. I'm not sure how your comms are set up, but in our case, for example, we always have our own logi comms, so the logi guys and girls are talking to each other to some degree. Like, for example, get ready for target switch and, you know, take your reps off this guy and be ready for the next one, and like this guy's primary, just to have that attention on 100% and stuff like this, right? And that's usually also like one person would take over that role. So definitely an NFC role in some degree, to some degree.
We have whisper list for that, but the more I take some other roles which are not connected with what's going on right on this grid, the more I feel like I need to pass this role, the logistics commander, to someone else. For example, it was often when, if you know Ren Chocolate, right?
Oh yeah, yes.
She was in Origin for quite a while as well. So it was often that I would say, like, Reni, I'm sitting in like 200 comms, I'm watching this, watching that. I also have to bridge people. Can you know, take care of Logi for me today? So you need to delegate. Even being supportive role, you need another support to support the support, you know?
Yeah, she's also like supportive. I'm not sure about FC, but she's also in a supportive role a lot of times, right? As far as I can tell, I don't know.
She is a good logic commander, and she was actually a logic commander before I came in Origin. I don't know how it happened. You know, I always try when I come to another, like I joined Triumvirate. I was in PL before try. You know, any other alliance that I joined, I tried not to, you know, push elbows with anyone else who is already in this role. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm the new guy, right? So I don't want to like push anyone.
Yeah.
But over time, at least what happened to me, sometimes they just see my work and they ask me to do it. Can you like be OGFC today? So
I think that's in general for FC teams, it's always a tricky situation because there's only so many opportunities an FC can have. Same for supportive FCs to actually get out there and do things, right? And then the FC team or supportive FC team can only be so big. Like you can't have like a different FC for every op. Like you need some practice. You need to be, you know, in the meta to some degree and all that stuff. Like at least for FCs, that I think that applies. So it's always tricky to like join a new group, for example, and then find your role, I would say, right? And that's kind of also for Ari might be interesting, like the point of view, because Ari joined, and I'm not even sure why did you even have an Alden in it? You know, you only had an Alden in it to what? To just, you know, get some nullsec experience, but then you kinda developed into the role of a supportive FC for init. Like, I mean, after Rage, obviously, right? But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of people in the Wormhole space who weren't too fond of me after the Rage job. So, and I had a lot of fun working with you and the other members of Init. So it seemed like a logical next step, and I had never lived in K space before, so I was definitely curious to see what it was like out there, and I've been loving it honestly ever since.
Yeah, and Paperbag, I know you haven't been in test for like years. You only have been there for what, like half a year,
Yeah, like
and
5 months.
you're already being known as the number one support guy. When I asked Seto, like he instantly said, I know the guy, and then you know.
I don't think I'm the number one support for tests. I do a lot of support for one of the SIGs that Seto and Southside leads. There's definitely been opportunities for test fleets. They'll need someone to provide eyes, especially during blackout. You need somebody that how to use D-scan and get good intel for the fleet. They need people flying sabers, moving sinos as well. And in a couple instances, we have a guy who is deaf, so they needed somebody to just transcribe everything that the FC was giving out in as far as commands. Um, but for the most part, I think most of the support I do is for Seto's SIG.
So, but still, like in a short period, I would call it a short period of time, 5 months or 6 months. Um, uh, you're already well known in the FC team, at least, to be like a reliable support guy. So, like when you joined, like how long do you think did it take to like kind of find your role in testing? Or was it instant? You knew what you want to do, and you just found that the drifter one more thing. You started, and boom, like the next week you were already known to be the guy. Hey, you need some warm-ups mapped? I know a guy.
No, it definitely took a few months because some of the things that you do as a support, it definitely takes some trust, right? I mean, if you're, you know, even just this giving intel or even just moving signals and stuff like that, like your FC wants to make sure that they trust that guy, that it's not just somebody that might know what they're doing or doesn't, or might. You really want it to be somebody that is reliable, and then you also want it to be somebody that is going to be there frequently. You don't always want like a different guy every fleet. You want it to ideally be the same group of people that you can rely on.
Yeah, that's what I also meant with like you need the opportunity to do it. There's only so many, and if you have a different guy for each of the fleets, like quality is not going to be as good. That's just how it is, right? Like if you're used to doing one job, you're going to be way better at it. At least I would think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even like say like a Goku fleet, for example, like you want like some of your boosters to be guys that have done it before. Otherwise, you end up with guys that are like boosting by accident or double boosting and stuff like that, and that's not ideal.
Yeah. So you support mostly Seto, like, and why don't you support like other FCs too? Like, do you? So, how do you phrase it, right? I don't want you to talk bad about anyone, but like, I know there are certainly FCs who don't appreciate supportive stuff enough, and they might even talk down on people and stuff like this. So like how do you pick the guy you think, oh, this guy is worthy of my support? Like I can put my time and effort in there, and I'm not going to be treated like like shits, and this is going to be worth it. You know what I mean? Like what makes Seto, for example, worth supporting?
I think for me, that's just been where the opportunity was. For when you're in tests, like a lot of the big strat FCs, they have like skirm FCs that are supporting them instead, and so generally they don't necessarily need help. Like occasionally we'll be doing an op and they'll say, I need a scepter that can +1 the fleet and give us intel, or jump in and tell me what you see, or we need somebody to fly saber, and I'll try to jump into those roles. But that's more of helping on the fly rather than doing like prep work for a big strat op. But I think as I've kind of stepped into this role, kind of unknowingly, It's definitely something I've thought about. Maybe I should just become a DDFC and just help out, but never actually do any real FCing. But as far as like if I was deciding, who to help and who not to, I think it's really important to support new FCs because um, these are the guys that might be leading the fleets, months down the line, and it's really important for them to get experience. So in general, I think I would help most FCs. It's just if an FC is both very like overly demeaning and also just not a very good FC, I think that combination would be the type of FC that I would probably avoid supporting.
What about Tiana? Ari, what do you guys think? Like, how did you, like, do you have some criteria, or like, do you have any stories maybe? Do you have a story of someone?
I do. I'm
Oh
full
yeah,
of
go
stories.
ahead, do it. Just tell a story.
How do I decide if I'm gonna speak up and help the person if he's the main FC, right? That's what you're asking.
Yeah, kinda, yeah.
In my experience, I saw a few FCs. It wasn't a lot, hope lucky for me, but it was a few people who were just doing the same mistakes over and over again. And if you try to tell them that they should, change tactics a bit, do something different, they would say like, yeah, and then they doing the same. So this is probably the only type of FC that I don't want to go above and beyond for. Like if they don't do extra effort to review what they do, to try get better, I would support a start like Paperbag said, like a newer FC. When I see that they're really trying, they're really trying to get better, they're really trying to get experience. And after the fleet, they probably do some, like debrief or something. They think at least what could be done differently, but some people just don't. And you see, like, if their problem is, for example, like if they are anchoring their fleet and they are scrammed on web, they don't appoint another anchor and they just, sit there, and fleet is sitting there as well. And like when you try to tell this person, maybe we should appoint another anchor next time, to switch anchors so fleet can keep moving and kind of not die. And they say like, yeah, and then next fleet, same shit. This the only kind of person I wouldn't support. Other than that, if they're good or if they're trying to be good, I had a really positive experience in Winter Coalition with some of their FCs, some of their younger FCs who had the fleet. It wasn't so great, right? But I don't know why this person came to me, what he heard about me, but for some reason, he asked me to talk to him after fleet. And I'm like, what does he want from me? I was a bit confused. And
And he asked for feedback?
yeah, after fleet, this guy is asking like, Tiana, what do you think? What could be done differently? What do you think? Maybe I should have done this or that. This is, attitude that I really like to see in people. I don't know.
What about you, Ari? Do you agree? I think I do that all the time, right? Poke you, like, we should have done this, we should have done that. What do you think? La 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 la.
You definitely asked my opinion on a lot of stuff, and I appreciate that. I think how I kind of decide, like a big thing is that the FC is not always like wasting people's time or wasting their ships. Like if someone asks me, oh, can you scan out the drifter holes or something, and so I spend maybe an hour or two prepping for the fleet, and they have like one spot in mind, and then they go there, they catch nothing, and then they just abandon it. And like, oh, and that sort of thing bothers me. It's like, well, let's look and see if we can go somewhere else. That's one thing I like is when people have like they have a backup plan if the first thing falls through, and they're not just gonna whelp for the hell of it. I mean, it's fine if it's like a very disposable fleet, like Stuka fleets, or even some of the heavy Stukas that are T1 ships. It's cheap, so it's fun a lot of times, even if you don't come out as positive. But I think that's definitely one of the big things for me is that the FCs are kind of respecting the time people are giving them and trying to use it to the fullest. I also don't usually like working with FCs if they're like constantly berating their fleet or belittling them. That sort of environment I'm not a fan of. But yeah, I would say those are probably the main criteria I look at.
Did you guys ever have to like step in and get like super serious with an FC? Like some FC fucks up majorly and you think he doesn't understand, so you combo him or you drag him into another channel and tell him what's up? Like, did that ever happen?
Personally, I think this is more confusing for the fleet, and the fleet can take even more damage if this happens. If someone decides just to take over by force, if I understood.
Oh no, I mean no. I mean more like after the fleet, or like in general. Like you said, let's say someone's taking out mutants and he's always getting scrammed as anchor, and he just doesn't adjust to the situation, right? He gets scrammed, but he stays anchor and just stays pinned down, and then maybe gets bombed to shit by some Stukas or something. And it happens like 5 times in a row. Like, did you ever like after fleet convo like an FC and say, "Come on, dude, like what the fuck? Can we talk about this? Come on." And then get like super serious? Was there any super serious situation there or so? Like maybe some drama?
Personally, if I'm not asked, I usually keep quiet.
I tend to give feedback, especially with some of the FCs I've worked with. Though I do remember sort of a funny incident back when I was in Pause Party. And I was helping, kind of supporting Velasius, who was a great FC. And I remember we went into Brave staging to get a fight, and we were in our own little sort of bush fleet with the Confessor's Deacons. And they undocked Caracals. And like I had in my mind, like I had looked at fits and sort of knew how much DPS they should be able to do on paper and how much we could tank. I was like, oh, we can't take this fight. We can't take this fight. We're just gonna die. And he's like, at some point, he's just like, shut up. I'm the FC. We're gonna go take this fight. And we did. And then we totally kicked their ass. And afterwards, I talked to him, and one of the things I kind of failed to realize is it's Brave. There's a lot of people with lower SP. A lot of these people have like T1 fits, and so they weren't really. Yeah. So I mean, I was definitely back when I was in Wormhole Space, I nagged a bit more. I think I'm better about it now and put more trust in the FCs I'm with. But I was very by the numbers back then.
But I mean, that's not it's not like you like persisted and said like we have to warp out and not take this fight, otherwise we fear. Like when he said, "All right, we're gonna do it anyway," you're like, "All right, let's do it." I did shut up then. Yeah, it's like I think that's probably like a different example. Kind of interesting though. I mean, you probably. I mean, I'm not sure, right? You probably thought the same with a couple of my fleets. They thought like, we shouldn't be doing this, and it kind of worked out, right?
Yeah, I was definitely, especially back then, I was much more pushy about like my opinions, and now it's like I said, I've put a lot more trust in the FCs, and I'll give my opinion on something, but then I'll leave it on that. And so, if things go wrong, maybe I'll be like, I told you so. But
yeah, that's the thing. So like, if you would tell me, hey, let's say we're in the Confessors and whatnot, right? So we're in the Snatch fleet and they're in Caracals, and I say we're gonna take this fight anyway. Like first of all, I would appreciate someone saying we can't take this fight, and then because of X, Y, Z, maybe there's something that I missed, right? Maybe they have, I don't know, like in Caracals, like what could Abyss? Maybe they have like 50 lodges. I don't know what. Or maybe there's like a there's just the one part of the character fleet. Something I'm missing, right? So I would appreciate that, and even just saying like, I'm not sure if we can take this fight, just to have your opinion there. I think I would appreciate that still. I mean, if you go on about it, that would be annoying, but I don't see that obviously.
I was a bit pushy in that instance.
But like, so the "I told you so" part, right? That's another story. Like, I'm not good with that because, like, let's say I'm taking this character fight and then I wipe the entire fleet, but I mean, there was a chance. There's always a chance, obviously. And but I fucked it up. Right? I made mistakes and we lost the fight. Like, if you say right then and there, like I just kept potted home, and you say "I told you so," right? I mean, if you say it in a funny way, I'm probably gonna take it. But there are some people out there, and I remember one guy, he like started to criticize my FC and right then and there, like while we were still flying, and I'm just like, that's not helpful at all, right? That's not getting us anywhere. And then the problem is also with FCs. I'm not sure if I'm alone with that. Maybe another FC in chat. I saw Honey Monster is here, so Shines is here. If someone tells you like, you cannot engage this, no, I have to engage it. You know what I mean? Like, I cannot leave anyone. That's like an ego thing or so. I don't even know what it is. But if you would tell me you cannot engage these characters, now it's way more interesting for me to engage them, right? So I would feel like shit. Like, if I engage them now and win, that's even better, right? So, it's a tricky situation sometimes.
Yeah, I definitely try not to be too negative now, and like, oh, this is impossible, this won't work, blah blah blah. I also hate that if someone's just basically telling you that nothing you're going to do is going to work. That's super frustrating.
Yeah, I also think that it's a really bad habit when people try to backseat FC, and it's been proven over and over, at least a few times for me, when FC just they have a different idea and plan, and they do it and it works, and it's just like it would have been better if people had just stopped telling FC to do this or don't do this, and they just trusted the FC. So I think it's really important to resist the temptation.
Yes, I think that's especially for like new FCs. They don't have that 100% confidence yet, right? I mean, you don't even have to be 100% confident that you're gonna win, but you have to be confident that even if you lose, it's not gonna be in the end, But like upcoming FCs, they might not have that, and then also they didn't earn the trust of every single member in the fleet. So that's something that would come up for a new FC, for example. He says a thing, and then people would like, should we actually warp there? And then someone speaks up, and then it spreads the little bit of doubt, and the fleet wouldn't really believe in the FC anymore, and that can be a bad thing too, right? You can derail an entire op with that, I believe. I mean, that's the extreme case, obviously. Right?
Also, you maybe discourage this person from learning and from taking more fleets in.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like I only can give like a real life, story experiences. I'm a mom of 7-year-old, right? So he's trying to tie his shoelace now, and he's clearly not doing it right. But I have to keep silence and like, keep myself from trying to just let me fix this real quick,
Yeah, you can just give like hints, and then make it his own idea. You know what I mean? Like, you can try to steer him into the direction, but he's only gonna learn it by doing it himself.
Lucky for me, when I met Ela, I have less and less instances when I even feel like I need to fix something. I trust his judgment entirely, and he's the one who can be trusted in terms of decisions on field. It was funny actually. The same experience I had with another very talented FC who was, like I mentioned today, Russian Alliance, the Gorgon Empire, who lived in Curse, yeah, like 5 years ago. So there was an FC, a Russian one, who probably is kind of famous even in English-speaking community. His name is White Dawn.
Yeah, I know them.
So he was very talented, and when I first got on his fleet, it was like a public fleet, and I had no idea about PvP whatsoever. It was one of my like first PvP fleets in my game experience. But just like people say that you don't have to be an expert to say if this wine that you're tasting is good wine or it's a bad wine. It's the same with FCs, I would say. Like when you see a good one, you know it's a good one. You know what I mean?
That's nice.
So when I first see how White Dawn thinks, how he works, what is he doing? You know, I was so excited, and like I told myself, I should get into his alliance. I should get into his corp, no matter what, and I should keep, you know, flying with this guy. So basically, when I was invited to the first fleet with Ila, I didn't really know about him anything because the first Black Legion was before my time. Basically, the first Black Legion was before my, you know, Gorgon career. So it was before me. I didn't really know what to expect. Yeah, I heard the name. Yes, I know. I knew he's famous, but hearing something and experience is different, right? But like when I had my first fleet, I realized that this is the FC I want to be part of the team with, you know.
I think that's also something that you see in a lot of corps or alliances. They build around an FC, right? Let's take, for example, Kenda from, like, he used to, like, he was on last week. He used to FC 4 goons just as sake, right? But he has charisma and he's a good FC, like a really good sub-cap FC. Or even cap FC, I'm not even sure if he's using caps much. But it's almost like there's a cult, you know, developing around certain people, and I would say Elo is probably one of them. Kenda is certainly one of them. That, you know, people just realize right away, like, all right, this guy has it figured out. He treats his guys correctly. You know, I think every bigger FC, there's no, at this point, I mean, maybe it used to be like in 2005 or so, but at this point, I think most big FCs, you can't afford to treat your people like shit. You know, you can't just rage at everything, little thing. It might just happen, and I mean, maybe I'm gonna tell that story later, but it happens to everyone. That you maybe lose your patience with people, and then you know, you have a bad day and stuff. But in general, you know, it's kind of what you see, that people seek out FCs rather than groups, right? Like people would join Black Legion, not for Black Legion itself, but for Elo, right? And that can be a problem too, I believe, right? So other FCs, for example, in Black Legion, getting the numbers together is probably very hard because you have to compete with Elo, right? Like he's the
That's
number
true.
one guy, and then FC number 2, I wouldn't know who that is right now, but like, say that again. Who is it?
Doom Bunny.
So Doom Bunny, he's more of the supportive guy. But if he pings, he probably only gets, let's say, that's a guess right now. Let's say 65-70% of the numbers, right? So he gets still decent numbers, but not Elo level numbers, right? And that's, I think, that's what you see in a lot of groups actually. I'm not sure if that's actually the case, for example, for goons, for example. I think that's a little different, right? at the moment I feel like goons are one of those groups. They don't have that that number one like super fan. I mean Asher and
Pittsburgh?
Say what?
Pittsburgh, maybe.
You know, I think Pittsburgh is also. I mean, he's still an upcoming FC, isn't it? Exactly, Jay. That's the name I was looking for. So Jay Amazingness and Asher. Those are like the cult leading personalities in Goons, I would say, right? But I wouldn't think that they are so well known outside of Goons. So once you're in, you would know them, but I don't think people join, for example, Goons necessarily because of their FCing, right?
True.
And I think that might be different for Edo and Kendo, obviously.
Yeah, what I was trying to say, there are certain FCs in this game that you don't have to backseat, you don't have to, you know, correct anything. You can just trust their judgment and just take care of everything else. That's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, that's great, right? I mean, that's the dream for a supporter FC. Like the FC, the main FC does whatever he does, and you just make the show run smooth, right? You just take care of like the dictators in the right place at the right time. The Sino is here, the Titan Bridge is already like ready to go, logging in at the right time, and you know, the Logi wing is organized, the links are organized, all that stuff, right? You know, and then the whole op just works out perfectly, right? And sometimes you have these magical ops, I feel like sometimes things just work out like perfectly, like you have written a script for it. And I think that comes down a lot to like the preparation in general, right? Preparation and, you know, like the support of people being around. Yeah, shout out to VHSler, right? Blackbird said it. VHSler is one of our supporter FCs who always organizes the links, right? So that's the danger though. Like when Shines or we're forming a fleet, we don't even think about the links anymore because VHSler is around. He's taking care of it. But if he's not around, it's very apparent.
I
right?
know what you mean.
That can be a danger too, right? If you get too you know, used to it, and then suddenly you undock, you think, oh, everything is fine, and then someone says, why don't we have info links and the shield links, and we only have one skirmish link, and then you realize, oh shit, VHSler is not around, right? That can happen very quickly too, right? But in general, like, so I like to like prep ops like extensively, no, not extensively, but you know, I always like to be prepared for like ops, even if it's just the normal Stuka fleet, which I've run like, I don't know, hundreds of. I still like to like be on point on timing and all that stuff and have it prepped. And a lot of it is the supportive guys. So what do you guys think, like how much like like on average per day, or maybe like how much time per week do you put into like prep stuff, like move stuff around and, you know, all that stuff? What do you guys think? How much is it? Maybe starting with Ari. Ari, what do you think? Like how many hours per week do you put in per week just to move stuff around and prep stuff for like all kinds of ops?
So I haven't been doing as much scanning lately. When I was doing more of that, it was probably I don't know, 4, 5, 6 hours of scanning a week. But now you have me moving, not every week, but you know, Titans around. Some of those take quite a bit and make me stay up until like downtime for some of that. But I remember the first time I like used my Titan really was moving it deep into Stain. I think it was the first time I'd ever moved a cap like that, and I still never shot anything with that Titan. It just gets snuck
Wait
around.
a second. No. Wait a second. We moved you into Esoteria, I believe. And when I told you, so you told me you have a hyper rack, and then I saw you have a hyper rack, and you have never moved a cap before because you're coming from wormhole space, right? And then the first thing you get told to do is moving a Titan into Esoteria. That was kind of like, I didn't know at the time, right? So I told you to move it to Esoteria, to a certain system, and you're like, so how does this work exactly? I just want to make sure. Like, you knew all the things, but you just wanted to make sure you're right. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh shit, like she never moved the cap before. That was funny. And the first cap move is a Titan into Ezo. It's like one of the, if you get tech with your dead, that's it. Like, there's no way around it. You're gonna get dogpiled by like Dictors and Tackle and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's why my Titan is super cheap fit, and I think it'll be funny when it does eventually get killed, because yeah, I mean it's never being used when there's faxes in range, so might as well cheap out on the tank and whatnot. But yeah, but back to the question. I would probably say it depends on like how many ops we have going on, but for like a typical op, if I'm helping scan, then that's going to be like an hour there. If I'm seeding characters, that might take an hour or two. Sometimes I put like dictors or things logged off, and then of course if I'm doing the Titan, that takes much longer.
What about you, Paperback? What do you think? Like, I mean, Ari, put a number on it. What do you think? How many hours per week on average? Just take a guess.
So I would say lately for init fleet or for init operations, probably not that much. Probably only 4 or 5 hours a week lately.
Alright, so yeah. So what about you, Paperback? What do you think? Like, how much prep work you putting in, like, in a week, kind of?
I mean, it depends, right? I mean, if what needs to be done, like if we're just moving sinos, like, it could be like 5-20 minutes, depending on how far it needs to. But, like we talked about earlier, like if you're mapping, a drifter wormhole, I mean, we're talking about, 2 or 3 hours sometimes.
Yeah. And then you map a drifter wormhole, what? Like, several times a week? Sorry,
Now
guys.
that the war is over and I have a lot more, I definitely put a lot more time into scanning drifter wormholes. Like originally, I would just do like a snapshot, just whatever holes happen to be there, I'll just scan those. But now that I have more time, I'll just stay logged on, and as new ones pop up, I'll scan them down and see what they are.
So your number is what? What do you think per week?
I, I would say now that I'm doing primarily like drifter wormholes, since I do this like on a daily basis now, I'm probably spending maybe 20 to 30 hours just scanning
20 to
wormholes.
30. Only for the scanning part?
Well, actually, let me take that back. So the first like we said earlier, like the first set of wormholes takes like 2 hours. So I do that definitely every day. But then like I'll go and do my own thing, and maybe crabbing or go do like a small gang, and then I'll come back to it and see, oh, 12 new holes have popped up, and I'll scan those down.
Yeah.
So I'm not truly sitting there like the whole like 4 or 5 hours on that character.
But like, so do you have like I mean, I know you've got a dedicated character, but like, do you have like a full scanning chart with like virtue set and everything in the warmer? Or is it just a normal prober?
It's just it flies a covert ops. It's got most of the scanning skills to 5, but it doesn't have like any special implants. It has like maybe the scan strength like 5% in it. It's nothing expensive because I think it has like 150 strength. So I mean, you can scan every signature down in 2 scans. So it's good enough for me.
Oh, can you? Because
Yeah,
like,
if you do.
so you do 8 AU probes, and then you would do 2 AU probes right away, and that works. I don't think you can hit them without set though. You have to use 1 AU probes then.
Yeah. Well, so what I'll do is like over a celestial, I'll do like a big scan, like 8 or sometimes 16 AU, and it'll get all the 6 down to like being just like a
Oh,
dot.
and then 2
and
more.
then,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So
that
for
makes sense.
all
Okay.
those, I'll do 4-1.
Yeah, because like, so I've got like a dedicated prober for that with virtue set and all 5 and everything, perfect equip and all that. And then you would only need 1 ADU probe and then 1-2 AU. Right?
Yeah,
Sometimes you don't
exactly.
hit, so you have to do a second one, but you don't have to adjust the range then, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
So I can actually probe it within like 30 minutes. I can probe down all 65 signatures, then have my guys map it for me. Right, I've got 2 guys then map it for me, which is, I believe, the most efficient, the fastest, the most like the stress-free way to do it. Right.
Yeah, as our SIG kind of figures out how they want to organize this, I hope that's something we kind of progress to, because currently the way we have it is we've just got one guy in each hole, and they do all the probing and all the mapping themselves, which I don't think
Yeah.
is really the most efficient way to do it.
No, you know what? When it was 20 signatures, that was totally fine. And that's another thing. Like, I would ask people to then have them mapped. Like, for example, tomorrow I want to do Stukas at whatever 1800, and then I would ping the channel. In our case, it's the Warmer Crew channel, and then say, hey, can we have the stuff mapped for that op? So it needs to be done like in half an hour before and stuff like this. And I wouldn't feel bad about it, because like, you know, I know 20 signatures, people have to invest around an hour, right? If they're fast, 45 minutes. You know, it's okay. That's something I can ask for. But then it got increased to 60. I can't really ask my guys to invest 2 hours of scanning, mapping, and all that stuff. Like you can't just, you know, do something else on the side. You have to focus on it. You want to be done within 2 hours. Like, I can't really ask like 10 people to, you know, do, or not 10 people, but like, let's say 3-4 people to, you know, invest 2 hours of their time, effort, for every op, right? So, you know, we adjusted and got a little bit of like a team going for each wormhole.
Yeah,
Which
it's a
is
tough
quite nice.
ask, especially when you might not even use that any of the connections that day, and then the person might feel like, oh, I just spent 2 hours doing all this scanning, and you're not
Correct.
even.
Yeah, that's a thing. Like, there might not even be anything going on then, right? Or in my case, like, I ping, and you guys actually ping, hey, ESO go red for a while, you know? So even if I have that ESO wormhole, I have to have option B, C, and D ready to go. Otherwise, I can't even undock, like counting, like Ari said earlier, counting on that one Desti only. That's not fair to my guys either, right? So I have to be careful there. Like, and sometimes they map, and then the we might have good connections, but the map is empty. There's nothing there. Like, I'm not gonna for my guys to just wing it and then hope for the best, for like that 5% chance of us catching something. And then, you know, I'm not only wasting the scanner's time, but also like 100 people's, you know, time in general. So yeah, it's a tricky spot sometimes. Yeah. But so you're saying 20 to 30 hours, which is a lot. So when I'm gonna ask Tiana, I think at the moment you're not as busy, right? Because Black Legion, you guys are taking a little bit of a break, I would guess, right? After the war and stuff like this. So you're just falling back to Venal right now, or what are you guys doing? But like in general, on a like when it's like normal activity level, what do you think you put in hour-wise, like per week?
After listening Ari and Paperback, I think I'm black because Origin is not so focused on Stuka, and we are not so interested in Drifter Worm. Yes, we did it a few times, but it's not like our main activity. That's why I'm lucky I don't have to scan this much, because like you said, scan does require your attention. So what I do is, since I already have some eyes placed where they need to be, I don't have to worry about that on the enemy's agents, and like the prep work that I would need to do is just, maybe move a signer somewhere or move some other characters somewhere. That's usually it. So it's like maybe 30, 40 minutes before the op time, when Ela like pings, like if you have a recon signer, PM me or something. But on the other way, I do have some, other work. that takes months, and I'm talking about spies here, and that requires quite a lot. So it's hard to tell how much time it is actually. Even if I don't use my spies at this moment to spy on the current fleet at this moment, I still want to make sure that they're active, they have some sort of kill board running, this kind of stuff. So I play them as I would play any other character. So it's a tricky question.
So you're the spy master also for Black Legion?
I wouldn't say so. We share this work in between the team. I'm just the one who has a little bit more of a free. So
funny enough, Ari is kind of involved in spy stuff too.
I'd say it's because it's a matter of trust, right? The like a corp CEO or FC should trust the guy as well.
So Paperbag, are you also involved in spy stuff, or is that nothing you're doing?
It's been asked a couple of times, but I think, as I think about it, I would be a terrible spy. I just really I like people, and I like getting to know people, and I think ultimately, if I started spying for like for Init, for example, I would just eventually just become really good friends with you guys, and then I wouldn't really be spying anymore.
Well, that's always a major concern when we have people go out and try to spy on stuff. They don't know if they're personally made up for it, right? Because it can be tricky.
It is tricky, yes. And I would say that I was thinking just like Pepper is saying right now. But we came to some point when you just have to.
Yeah. Nowadays, the game requires it. I mean, yeah. I mean, the test guys are spying.
They call your broadcasts. You want to know their broadcasts. That's just
stuff too.
Oh yeah, like in the mutant meta, like it's an absolute necessity, right? I mean, if the way everything gets just alpha, like if you don't already know that you're gonna be next, like you're.
I don't enjoy it, but I have to do it. That's.
Yeah. So I also want to get you guys' opinion on the blackouts and Sino changes and warp speed changes, and then maybe some thoughts on maybe what's gonna be announced at EVE Vegas. But I need a super short break because I have to pee, and I can't fucking hold it in anymore. So we're gonna take 3 minutes of a break or something like this, right? And then after that, we're going to talk about the blackout sign changes, warp changes, and all kinds of stuff. And we're also going on for more than 1.5 hours. So I think I don't know, have that segment and then maybe open it up. Maybe some people have some interesting questions. And yeah. So see you guys in 2-3 minutes, alright? Be right back.
Well, I guess I can talk to chat a little bit. I do miss wormhole space a bit, Mr. MRA. But I have been having a lot of fun out in K space. I feel like there's a lot more opportunities to do the types of ops that I like out here. Yeah, I was grabbing a drink. I've drank like 30 ounces of liquid since we've been here. The ops I like the most are probably like Stuka fleets. I really enjoy flying tackle. I fly sabers a lot in fleets. My alt Feisty Falcon. Um, you'll see her on a lot of Stuka fleets out getting killed, tackling oracles and stuff. If you get me another Titan, well, I'll use it for PvP. I don't know. I don't like Titans. Not really. Maybe if I was like dropping rock walls with them or something outside of in its face. I know, I'm sorry.
Is your Titan Ares like a travel breach most of the time?
Yes, absolutely.
Just like mine.
I have literally never shot anything with it. Never doomsdayed anyone.
I did.
Nice. Yeah, it's I just sneak it around and bridge fleets. It's fun though. It's probably the most stressful thing I've done in fleets since like the rage op.
Alright, I'm back. Sorry for the interruption. What are you guys talking about? What's the most stressful thing?
I was talking to chat a little bit and answering some questions.
Alright, perfect.
It sounds like Darkshines is trying to give me a Titan.
Alright.
Do it.
Well, Shine certainly got the hardware, but he knows how to get Titans. Paperback, you also back?
Yes, I am.
Alright. So I want to get the thoughts on the blackout thing and all that stuff from CCP lately. Also from you guys. And I think the test perspective is probably a little bit more unique. I mean, I asked Seto, and it's pretty similar to my opinion. But you guys were like super busy during the blackout thing, right? So I think the crabbing stuff was kind of influenced by the war anyway, right? So I'm not sure if your guys didn't notice it as much as the other big nullsec groups. But what do you think? What do you think about the whole blackout thing? So completely no local. What's your take on that, Paperback?
I think for the most part, because the majority of what I enjoy doing is being part of hunting and whaling and that part of the game. I mean, obviously, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. But even just like in terms of supporting a fleet, suddenly, years of using DScan became a very valuable skill for scouting out a big fleet. But I think I was really surprised by how many of our guys just stopped logging in. Initially, like the thought was just like, well, we probably didn't need those guys anyways. But you know, a lot of people stopped logging in, and it really had a huge effect. And I think then I realized that maybe we're really just kind of on the other end of the extreme of just having no local, and that probably wasn't a good thing either. And now that we're back to having perfect intel, and we're having to like suddenly use campers all the time again, I think if we could find a place kind of in the middle, that would probably be what would be ideal, I think.
So you're talking local delay.
Yeah, actually, you mentioned this, I think, on your previous show. It's like some amount of delay when someone
Yeah.
enters local.
Yeah, I always like, I'm not sure how many times I mentioned it, like whenever I kind of try to like ask all the guests that I invite on to have a little bit of a like a widespread opinion, to see what like people think about stuff from different groups, right? So to kind of have an idea. And so I talked about it a couple times on my stream before, and I still think like there's a sweet spot somewhere with the local delay, and it might be 20 seconds, it might be 30 seconds, it might be a minute, right? But I truly believe there's a sweet spot there that would enable for all, or that would make it possible for all gameplays to have enough room to have activity, like significant activity. That's my take on it. What about Ari and Tiana? What do you guys think about, or what did you guys think about the Blackout thing?
Well, I definitely I would say agree with you both that I feel that the blackout was a bit heavy-handed. I would like to see a delayed local. Coming from wormhole space, like at first, I was definitely in the camp of delete local, just full stop. But after having been out there, I feel like that it's a little bit different than in wormhole space, right? Because you have the stargates, which are persistent, and so you could really move around a covered ops fleet if there was no local at all, with bridges and stuff, and it's almost undetectable. As well as you could have Hicks logged out, or not logged out, logged in systems cloaked, like just waiting to catch Titans. Like I was in an op where we caught a Titan in low sec that way by just taking a tune that looked harmless, and it was in low sec, leaving it logged in cloaked all day until the Titan cynoed to the Fortizar and then tackling it there. And when you have those kind of big toys around, I feel like having some sort of local is kind of important. Otherwise, people will stop using them. As much as I'm not really a big fan of Supers and Titans, I feel like there's plenty of people, like Dark Shines, that's a big part of the reason they play is to use those. For the sign changes, again, I feel like it might be a little heavy-handed. I'm enjoying it, but I'm not going to be mad if they let Hicks and T3s light sinos too. As far as the warp speed changes go, I definitely love that. I'm mostly a subcap pilot, so it's been great.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think I even have to ask about the warp speed changes. I think we all agree. I mean, I'm just saying it right here. I think we all agree that the warp speed changes were on point, right? I mean, not only that they touched the warp speed in general is great, but the way they did it also is I think on point, right? That they even increased the speed for cruisers. That's more than we actually asked for. I'd never dared to ask for that. I've just always asked for battleships and battlecruisers, but I totally agree. Cruisers can also be way more fast. So yeah, like you guys all agree, right? Speak up if you don't agree with the warp speed changes. But yeah.
Yeah, hands down. We have on multiple occasions flew Nightmares 20. We really like the warp speed change.
And then Tiana, what did you think about the Black Ops thing? Like similar situation?
I'm a bit biased because I was enjoying the special group who is located in NPC Dove and NPC Fountain. So during
What
the
do you mean
blackout,
NPC Fountain? What?
yeah,
What special group?
Oh, I remember them. They were dropping
So
carriers and balls in USTZ.
yes, during the blackout, we had a lot of kills of supers, rorquals, and whatnot. So I really enjoyed that. No, I wasn't sad when blackout came, unlike people who have some space to rat and mine it.
But so wouldn't you agree when I say that the blackout situation also pushed people closer to the umbrellas, there was less rockals like ratting outside the umbrella range. I'm not sure how much aware you were. Like how much were you like actually looking for the targets and stuff like this. But I think beside the big groups, like let's say Delph, Esoteria, Fountain, what's it called, Kalevala, Malpais, right? And then maybe Decline for GOTG. Beside those umbrellas that can really cover against any fleet anyway, there was nothing outside that, right? And I think that's an ongoing symptom, an ongoing what do you call it, effect that it had. Like it's still there, right? So that's numbers have recovered in general a little bit, not totally, but there's still like all the rockers are under umbrellas right now, right?
Yes, and what makes me really upset is the fact that after the blackout was cancelled, we lost a lot of content makers. We lost a few of the good FCs who just gave up. You know, people who provided content.
Yeah, so they left because they lost hope, right? Because like if a change gets reversed, it's not gonna get reversed the second time. It's not gonna go back to blackout. And they thought this is the last sign that CCP has lost, you know, has lost connection maybe to the game, and they're not gonna give any or they're not gonna change anything for content creators, right? And I certainly feel the same way, kind of.
I can't tell what they were thinking. Everyone has their, you know, reasons.
Well, didn't I say something?
I did talk with a few FCs who were hunting during the blackout, and they just gave up. You know, someone in our like informal talks in Origin, someone compared this to like you invite a woman to your house, she turns on the music, she starts to take off clothes, then suddenly she turns off music, put her clothes on and leaves. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I totally get it, but at the same time, like, wouldn't it be also fine, like, wouldn't it be fine with a little bit of cuddling first, you know? Like the middle ground, you know, that's, you know, you wouldn't just start like this. So, you know, let's get some let's get some middle ground going. That's what I'm thinking, right?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I agree.
So, you know, it provides enough activity overall, so there are targets in space, because you could totally tell, like targets were, like especially, like that's what I'm doing all day every day. Not all day every day, but like at least once or twice a week. I'm checking the entire map for targets, and I could instantly tell, like, there's nothing left, right? There's nothing left to hunt, and that's exactly what we don't need, even for hunters, right? Yes, the few guys that are in space are easier to catch, not necessarily easier to kill always, but like, yes, I mean, you're more sneaky, so you can kill them more. There was still enough to get by, but I think that activity would have also died down over time. I don't think activity would have increased after that. And you know what? I also would say,
sorry.
So I just wanted to say, at the beginning of Blackout, activity went up, but it died down quick too. Right? Let's not kid ourselves saying activity was like super fucking high paced the entire time of the Blackout. I think the beginning was really good, but it died down quick too.
I hate to
Stuka fleets though.
Yeah, I hate to break it to you, Panda, but in Delph, there's always someone writing. You just
That is true, yeah. I know. I know, but is he always killable? Like, is it always necessarily content? Oh. But that, you know, should be like, should all hunters then only hunt in Delph suddenly? Like, because there's no one else anywhere in this. the map looked depressing to me. Right? Just having like a blob in Malpais, a blob in Esoteria, a blob in Delph, a blob in Fountain, a blob in Backline, and everything around that was empty. Right? That didn't look like a healthy game to me. And
Probably you're right. Yeah.
I think the middle ground would have been great. And also for mid-scale PvP, if all the targets are now under umbrella range, I think that's still an effect that you have right now. Like the 10-man gangs, they are struggling for content because you don't have the like good old curse when Gorgon was in curse, for example, right? Those times, like how many gangs did we see back then roaming through curse all day, every day? It was crazy, right? Be it us roaming around Gorgon or Darkside when they were still around. There was like plenty of smaller groups back then. It's nowadays it's super tricky, right? Because all the targets are within big groups, and they all have that mega bad phone. You can't just hit an R64 and expect a good fight. Just not. It's happening.
I think one of the most fun things about the blackout, though, was like all the groups kind of working together with Stuka fleets to hit targets under the umbrellas. It was I know I had a lot of fun with that, even though it was sort of strange working with different groups that were kind of mortal enemies.
Yeah, and I always send you over to take the coordination part because I suck at that. It was quite nice to have you around to do all that.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed doing coordination with like Elo and a bunch of other FCs. It's like my first time meeting a lot of them.
Yeah, I think there was one time we might have been in Fountain, was it? And I remember looking across the way, and there were some fraternity carriers helping us out. And I knew a lot of our guys were a little confused about
That's origin carriers,
that. Yeah.
I guess. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's fun.
there was some very interesting collaboration between a lot of like the groups that hunt from the major coalitions like working together.
Yeah, we had at one time I think we had like 3 Stuka fleets on grid, or 4 even. Right. It was I think on XIX in XIX space, somewhere Tenerife as well. Legacy space. That was good fun. I mean, for those who are interested, I streamed that. I'm not sure what I called the video, but yeah, I think it's something called like 3 times Stuka or something. 3. It was Marshy, us, and Horde. Yeah, I think a PL or Sea Fleet was there too, but yeah.
I think you guys were in Impasse, weren't you?
Yeah, maybe it was Impasse. Yeah, you might be right. I think it was Impasse actually. Now that you say it, yeah. And you were on the other side, jumping in with Titans and stuff.
Yeah, it was a little frightening.
Yeah, well, it's complete chaos. I mean, back then, perfect segue. Back then, or not back then, it's like what, 2 months ago, maybe 3. But the Sino changes weren't live yet. With the Sino changes now live, it could be way harder to deal with a situation like that. Because you lose your Sino and then you're stuck, and then stuff gets bumped. You need a new Sino for the guy who's getting bumped, and all that stuff, right? So it can get super chaotic super quickly. And so perfect segue. Like, what do you guys think? The Sino changes on point, or you say they're too heavy-handed, or you would say, like, I mean, in my opinion, they create good opportunities right now, and I think I kind of like them the way they are, even though I think maybe a little bit too far. But what do you guys think?
I think that the idea that Sinos needed to be revisited was probably right. That it's probably not a good thing that just any ship can just fit a Sino and be a Sino. But I think the way they executed the changes would probably, I think, as most people say, it probably was not the best way. I know one of the ideas we talked about was maybe the Sino module should have a lot more fitting constraints. that, if you fit it, you might not be able to put like a great tank on it or something like that.
And then I have a bonus on recons and corpses, so they can fit it more easily.
Yeah, something along those lines.
I wish the signer could be nullified, honestly, just for, sake of my own sanity, because I have to move signers a lot. So I can
What a
modify it
selfish
tactfully,
request
for
here.
example.
Would be nice
But
to have them on Hicks too.
other than that, I prefer, of course, I prefer signer on a recon other than unkillable signer with panic module.
What do you want to say, Ari?
I was saying that I would like to see him on Hicks too, just because it would be nice to be able to, like, if you tackle a capital with your Hick, to be able to light that Sino too. So it doesn't take so many steps to like catch a like a Titan or a Super that's out of position.
Yeah, you know what? I would have actually said it's probably fine if you just say, okay, all subcaps, cruiser and above. I think it would have been an okay nerf. I mean, the main problem was like unkillable like Sino apostles and stuff like this, right? So they can just have that apostle Sino up forever. But I mean, obviously there's some subcaps that have such an insane amount of EHP that you wouldn't crack that one either, right? You can fit it like a Scorpion Navy on Shield, for example. I don't even know, probably to 600k EHP. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's possible. So that would be unkillable too, probably. You would have to alpha that thing.
One thing I do think is nice is like more for the smaller gang. Like if you see a particular ship, it can't light a Sino, so you might be more willing to engage it.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like a lot of times you see these like battleships or even frigates that are just gonna catch you, light the Sino, and then here comes the supers or Titans to kill your nano gang or whatever, and that's pretty lame.
Yeah, if you see a recon, they're kind of giving it away what their plan is. So it's kind of, unless they have the recon already in system and cloaked and stuff like this, you can spot the sign of them, right? Yeah, I agree. I feel like I'm happy with the changes. What did you want to say, Tiana? You wanted to say something earlier?
The only sad part about this is the signer changes strike hard the smaller people and individuals, right? So you mentioned that I do incursions before, right? So I do low second incursion. And my guys used to travel a lot using capitals. So traveling from one incursion to another, it is often takes at least like four or five jumps. So, being ready to lose a recon on each of the 5 jumps, it's kind of, discouraging them from using the capitals. And when they are discouraged from using the capitals, they discourage from piloting them and learning how to use them, because that's my other mission. I teach people how to use capitals first time in their life in a, kind of teaching environment. So some of my incursion pilots sit in the carrier or dreadnought for the first, So it's kind of sad. It's not like it's a big deal, but it's kind of.
Yeah, but I mean, you would agree though when I say people adjusted at this point, right? So like everything kind of still works. Like it's not that much of a hard-hitting patch that certain game like play styles
Yeah, of course.
are completely erased by it.
Yeah, of course. A lot of people just who has like dedicated sign alts, they just like me, just shrug and put some more skill points in these alts. That's it, basically.
Yeah. And what were we saying after that? I wanted to throw something in. I forgot what it was.
I think the point we wanted to discuss, it was mentioned earlier when you asked like and said that that we all three of us just agree to come and talk about support role all of a sudden.
Yeah. And then also the parallel is kind of interesting. You like so the parallel also between you and Ari in terms of the teaching role. That's what I wanted to throw in actually. I forgot it for a sec, but I caught it again. And because Ari, you made a teaching like a video before, like about like dicta bubbles and how they exactly work. So you were like interested in teaching people and stuff like this. And then Tiana says she is teaching people how to fly capitals and all that stuff. So that's a teaching role. So I wonder, Paperbag, are you also like teaching people in some capacity in tests, like teaching them how to do stuff?
Yes, I actually really enjoy teaching some of our newer pilots. For me, when somebody wants to learn something, it's easy to teach them, and I love doing it.
I think that's quite interesting that you guys are fairly similar characteristic wise, right? You do similar stuff, and you have like the similar interest, and that's like there's so many parallels there. And what you said when I was actually asking what I was trying to say, and you said like talking about like the support role. I think Tiana, you wanted to like to maybe let people know a little bit more. That being a support FC is quite it's quite, what do you call it? You get some out of it, you know what I mean? Like it's enjoyable.
Yeah, like if you remember when we discussed it, I said I would like see more people to step up. I would like to see more people to not be afraid to show some initiative and do something else, some extra. And they probably think that it's hard, but it's actually not that hard. That's the message I came here to send people, And you mentioned that Ari was actually thinking the same way.
Yeah, I thought right away when we talked the first time, I thought right away like you guys are so similar. And then I wondered like, are all the supportive FCs so similar? And I think like all supportive FCs like share certain characteristics, and I think we kind of highlighted that over the course of this FC chat. So I think that's quite interesting for people to understand. And then also I share the that thought. Like people need to like not be too afraid of taking on like supportive roles, and not everyone should aim to be like the number one FC the world has ever seen. Like I tell you what, it's probably not even that that great um, when you get so busy and you get like well known in the game or anything. It's probably not even that. You shouldn't even aim for that much, like some people do, right? I think the supportive role is quite quite enjoyable, like for a couple of reasons that we talked about here, I think.
It's super fulfilling.
Yeah, fulfilling. I'm looking for like a certain word, but I can't come up with it. But yeah, I hope at least like one or two guys that were listening, or maybe are still listening, because this is actually coming out as a podcast too. And some people might be on the flight to Vegas or whatever listening to this. I hope at least a couple people will like have a little bit more of an insight of like how things work in an FC team, and like that there are other roles than just the FC and just F1 monkey. If you want to do more, It's always great. It's always appreciated also by FCs. You might not get like a convo after every fleet from like the FC saying, hey, you did great, la 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 la. But trust me, like, I know the guys that get the right bubble at the right time, that get that sign already before I even ask for it. You know, that's the kind of stuff that I love about like really good, like supportive people around. I don't even have to add, like they just say, okay, I've got a Titan ready here, and I've got a sign already there, and stuff like this. Like it's just so helpful, and then it just makes that op move so smooth, and then 100 people or more even like have a great day, you know, taking a fleet out and stuff. So it's like Ari said, I think it's very fulfilling, and I hope like some more people consider, you know, helping their dude out, even if it's a new FC. And that might be another point that came up earlier, which I think yeah, all of you actually basically agreed. Newer FCs, they shouldn't be too afraid, you know, make use of the support of people, ask them for help. And if you put in effort, those guys, the Tianas, Aris, and Paperbags, they're gonna support you, right? So if you want an FC, that's great too. Take shit out, be prepared, put in efforts, and people will show up to your fleets, people will support you, and you know, it's content for everyone. So the more FCs, the better. And
Pando, I think you've cut out.
oh shit, I did cut out. Well, I didn't cut out on stream, hopefully. Yeah, I think the thingy bugged, the Discord's overlay thing. But I think it's probably like the perfect note to finish the stream. And unless you guys wanna have something, and maybe some people, if you have a really good question, put it in not in Discord, put it in the Twitch chat right now. Maybe we just get to answer that one question that you wanted to ask. Other than that, do you guys have anything to add? Did we actually talk about everything we wanted to talk about? Sounds like it then.
Yeah, I think we covered all the important stuff.
All right then. So wait a second. The question I asked in Discord earlier. Okay, wait a second, Blackbird. I've got a list here, but we went like back and forth and in the middle, and like I lost track of where we are. So I'm sorry if I didn't ask you a question. I have to find it. I remember you asking something though. Oh yeah. So that's actually an interesting question. So, did you guys actually ever get shit from an FC? Like, did someone actually give you shit because you didn't have stuff in order or something like this? Like, some FC expects you to do certain things and then it wasn't perfectly planned because he didn't tell you in advance or whatever, and then he like lost his mind about something. Like, did that ever happen to you guys?
I don't think that's ever happened to me. Like, I've certainly, for the most part, you know, if I say I'm going to do something, then I see it done. Usually people are just super happy to have the support. I've definitely seen people, other people who tried to support, say they're going to do something, don't do it, and then get kind of in trouble for that. But I can't personally think of a time where I had an FC get super mad. Usually they're just happy to have help.
What about the other both guys, girls? You guys, none of those experiences?
I don't think so.
Well, that kind of highlights the point again then, you know, don't be afraid, step up and help, do whatever you feel like you can support with, and it will be appreciated in general, right? Like overall. Alright, so I hope I covered all the questions. And I'm sorry, Blackbird, I skipped yours earlier, but we fixed it.
Except the embarrassing story part.
Do you have an embarrassing story? Come on, now's the chance.
I have plenty.
But who is it? Who is it? I actually asked Ari too to prepare one, but obviously No, there's no embarrassing story about me, so she didn't come up with anything, I think.
I couldn't think of anything, sadly.
So what about it? Tiana, come on, story time. It's a perfect way to finish a stream.
So I actually wanted to tell two stories. First is what we call in origin the buy story. It happened when I not just joined, but I was new in Corp, and I just started flying with them, get to know. And there was one fleet. Ela wasn't flying a monitor at that point yet, so often as he does in like big campaigns. It was like a smaller fleet, and he wasn't a large. And he was having his alt in a command destroyer and a busher. So we warping down, and we realized that we are not in a good position to fight these guys who entered the system just now. So we need to get away as soon as we can. And what he's doing, he's saying to like anchor on his alt to the busher, right? And his plan is like obviously to MGD us away immediately. But with his main, I think he didn't break invol after warp. So like everyone is pushed away except Eve.
That happened to me before. That happened to me before.
And everyone is just completely silent, and I'm saying like bye. So it's like a meme in our corp now. Every time everyone is about to die and we realize it, we say bye. He
I-
was
I totally
so
get it.
sad. He told me like, Tiana, that was cruel.
Well, it kinda was, right? I know that happened before to me before, especially in snatch fleets when it's all about that boost and you need to jump your dudes, right? And then you would hit the regroup thing, so everyone breaks timer, but it doesn't break your own timer. So if you're not quick enough, like if you misclick for a second, you have a 5-second window, right? So you whoop in, tell the guy to MJD, like spam the MJD, and then you have 5 seconds actually to make it happen. If you misclick and all that stuff, you have to regroup, then double click, so you break the time and all that stuff. And if you forget about it for a second, and then boom, you headshot yourself basically.
Right. And another story is like a mistake that happened at least a number of times. So let's say, so it wasn't just one time, and because of that we called it the Black Legion curse. So the Black Legion curse is called out of range actually. And if you guys Google a YouTube video that's called Elal with the Z at the end, you can see how it was one time when he was really upset about one moment when we realized that we cannot breach to the target because it's out of. And when we joined fraternity for this, how you say, spring, summer, autumn deployment, it happened like straight away after we joined. We were, doing some dropping stuff on someone. We found some roar and it's out of range. And we saying like, new alliance, same shit.
So you're in the new alliance and you're trying to be all awesome at shit, and then you're not in range. Oh yeah. That's kind of embarrassing, I have to say. I'm sure that happened to me before though, that we sit on Titan and then, boom, we're not in range. I don't remember though.
You said once it was an incursion in that system.
Oh yes, that happened to me. That's for sure. When we wanted to hit test, and then we didn't check the map, and there's an incursion, and then we couldn't bridge into the system where we had to sneak the Titan into, and then everyone was sitting there, and I'm like, oh, okay, guys, we kind of have to turn around right now, and have to send like a full fleet. So we had more than a full fleet, like some serious hype behind the op, and 256 people plus like 5-6 dudes who like were just flying with the fleet kind of, and I had to turn it around because we fucked it up and there was an incursion.
I think there was some soft warfare ops like going on too. So we had gotten through some test fleets, so we had already been seen. And this was after you made me move my Titan all the way through Stain.
Yeah, that was actually that was the first Titan thingy that we were talking about earlier, right? Yeah. The first cap you ever moved, the sneaky Titan into Esoteria. Not that wasn't Stain, it was Esoteria. Oh no, actually that's true. You're right. It was.
I was ready to jump into Esoteria for the bridge, but then we couldn't.
Exactly. So your final spot would have been in Esoteria, but you weren't staying at the time, yeah. Yep. And we couldn't jump you in because I think actually you're right. It wasn't an incursion. There was some stuff timer going on that we weren't aware of. So all the systems were jammed. Like we couldn't jump anywhere. Yeah. And then we were also camped in by like a couple harpies, and then we had a spy on comms from
Volta bombed us on the way back.
Volta, exactly. I know they had a spy on comms, and they bombed us on one of the gates then, because obviously they knew exactly what was going on. Yeah, that was probably one of the worst ops ever. That's actually one of the things I have on the list that I also skipped. Right? What was the best op ever, and what was the worst op ever?
That's so hot.
Thanks to the zehPaperBag. That we didn't talk about. What was the worst and best op ever? I don't want to, drag it out too long because we already said like, hey, let's like finish it. But like, if you guys got like a super embarrassing worst op ever, or like a super awesome best op ever, go ahead and do it.
I would say, like recently, one of the most fun ops I've been a part of in a long time was our kind of Rage 2.0 thing we threw together real fast. We finally got the fight in Rage we wanted. Oh my god, it was great. We noticed they weren't doing like hole control in their hole while they were off doing an eviction. And so me and a friend scanned out a chain. I a bunch of like Astero alts and threw them in there. And then the next day, just scanned out a chain. We spent a couple hours prepping some stuff, and then we just went in, and it was so much fun. Such a great fight.
Wait a second. So which one are you talking about? Is it the Rage 2.0 one?
Yes.
Yeah, it was good fun. Alrighty, guys. So I think we are good to shut it down. 2.5 hours. I always aim for the 2-hour mark. I kind of 2.5 hours. That's a good time, I think, to wrap it up. Unless you wanna say anything, then I would say thanks for showing up. Like I said at the beginning, much appreciated, because I know you guys are probably not you're not attention-seeking kind of people, right? You're always in the background, so I appreciate it very much, and I enjoyed this conversation very much too, and it's quite interesting, I thought, to highlight all the similarities, and like we said earlier, I hope more people find their way into some support roles, or even newer FCs get a little bit encouraged to do so, because you probably do have some support people in your alliance. Maybe you have people in the alliance that even don't know yet that they're support people. So go out, take some fleets out, and kill some shit, and have a good time. And everyone on stream, thanks for watching. Thanks for the subs. I missed a sub earlier. I know Veer was one of them, and I have to scroll up to find the other one. But much appreciated, guys. Also thanks for the bits, Jobby, and I would say see you on the next one. And yep, that's it.